If you ever hesitated to boot up a ranked game because you were anxious, trust me, I have been there. I've been playing video games since I was little, so I started playing Ragnarok Online when I was 9, and I played pretty much every genre there is since then. And the idea of booting up a CS match and then needing to clutch up and everyone watches you, or joining a raiding guild where you then need to join in TeamSpeak back then or Discord nowadays, just caused instant anxiety. But this also bothered me. I saw people and specific groups that I wanted to socialize with, but I just was not able to do so. Or I convinced myself that I did not want to mingle as much as I wanted to, just so I don't feel as bad. And throughout years of working actively on it, like nowadays, I am friends with such a diverse group of people and I can socialize with a lot of different types of people, but this was not always the case. The good news is you can get to this point, and you need to know that if you have this anxiety, you're not broken or need to be fixed to be a normal human being. There are just specific things that you can learn, take away, and then integrate into your life to get to this point and be hopefully happier with your social life. First, let's talk about social anxiety and why it targets gamers specifically. Social anxiety essentially is the fear of being negatively judged by other people, and in extreme cases it can even be similar to a phobia. So people seeing a snake, for example, and then having a deep visceral response to it. And it targets gamers specifically with two mechanisms. Essentially, people who are socially anxious, they're less likely to socialize and do other things on their own. This can be reading, but this can also be video games, and let's be fair, video games are deeply entertaining. The other mechanism is, if you're someone who plays video games, as they are very captivating and they provide a safe space for you, it is more likely that you will spend more time doing this and then less time socializing. So the dangers of developing social anxiety increase with time. And this idea of gaming being a safe space is on the one hand positive, but on the other hand, it also interrupts your ability to reduce social anxiety. So the positive thing is that some people have really tough circumstances, and having this escape and having this deep, rich world which you can just immerse yourself in is something that is actually good. You can relieve stress and you get these really nice and fascinating stories that you can just experience. But on the other hand, it interrupts essentially what is exposure therapy, which can help heal social anxiety. To understand anxiety and how we usually address this in a psychological sense is the body has this idea and this anxiety about a specific thing, be it snakes or other people, and then these emotions which are encoded in your body rise up. The most typical way to address these things is exposure therapy, where you, for example, go to this snake in a controlled environment, or you go to people and interact with a limited degree, and then your body gets this rush of anxiety, then you kind of stay in that feeling for a bit, and then the body realizes that, oh, this anxiety does not match the dangers that I'm exposed to right now, and then it encodes back again this new and lower level of anxiety matched to the situation that you've been exposed to. And over time, with enough repetitions, you reduce your anxiety and your phobia to a manageable level. And now you might already be aware why gaming can be detrimental, because if you have this rush of anxiety with other people, for example, and then instead of going to those social situations or just talking with people in ranked games, you can just mute yourself, or you can play single player games, and this anxiety rush that you get does not get reevaluated and matched to the new situation. It just rises, and then it gets encoded the same way, and your anxiety stays the same way and might even add up over time, because your anxiety just grows without having experiences which kind of contradict the anxiety it built up. Now, video games can pose a danger to your social anxiety, but you can also use video games to your advantage and then use it to address your social anxiety. An easier and more approachable way is something that I did in the past, which essentially is setting up a ladder of exposure therapy, but in a video game setting. So in an online match, for example, I unmuted myself at the start and I said hey and nothing else. After a while it was hey and some callouts, and then after a while it was hey, some callouts, and then a random comment about the video game. After a while it led to just the ability of having regular conversations in a match if I wanted to. Obviously, you need to step out of the digital space at some point. The danger here is a bit, again, that you use this safe space or the sense of progress to avoid the actual situation that you want to address. But the good thing is you can use this ladder and this reference experiences of doing these steps also in your real life. So one very practical way that I did it was when I started to go to university, I made a point to myself where if I started a new course, for example, and I go to the lecture hall, I wanted to sit down at a new spot each time. And then each time I sat down, I wanted to say just hi to the person to the left of me and then to the right of me. And even these small things led to so many fun conversations and also friendships that blossomed. But these are just some simple ways where you can integrate these approaches that I've talked about. Do not underestimate the potential that these seemingly small interactions have, and also do not underestimate your ability to make a lot of progress in a small time. Because in my university life, especially at the start, I was one of the most social people ever, which kind of shocked me looking back in my teenage years where I just almost locked myself in the room and played video games for hours and hours on end. Now this is the fundamental structure on how to address social anxiety, but I also want to share 3 small things that helped me a lot, which might also be useful in your journey. So for one, if you have the capacity to do so, move to a new location, or if you go to a university, try to study abroad or at a new place, because if you're someone who has social anxiety and overthinks, you can go through all of these steps and then be successful with your current context. I don't want to discourage you from this, but this might also give you an additional incentive, additional kick, because then you have less things to overthink. Another thing is, if you're overthinking and this anxiety is too large, I would actually advise you to go to a therapist, because social anxiety disorder is real and there are ways to address it in a controlled manner. Now, this was not necessary in my case, but a lot of people have benefited from it. And think of it as this way. If you want to get better at learning tennis, you can go through these motions and you might get to a proficient level at some point, but therapists can also act as some sort of coach to essentially help you out to improve this process and keep you accountable and do this in a faster manner. Now the third thing which is really useful to know is the spotlight effect. So there's this bias that we as humans have where we think that the spotlight is always on us, but what it essentially means is that we do not think about other people as much, and in turn other people don't think as much about us. And this can be very freeing, because you think that you might be judged if you have this stuttering or this weird interaction, but as long as you're not disrespectful, you will be all good, because people honestly will just forget. And don't see it as the weight of your entire social anxiety and your progress being on the line for the small interactions you're gonna have. Take it on as a tiny experiment that you conduct, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then whatever, and you're gonna see with the next experiment. But yeah, that's it for now. So this topic is something which is really dear to my heart, because I, in my opinion, went successfully through this struggle, and I understand the burden it has on us as human beings, but also on the great outcomes you can have of deep and fulfilling friendships and connections you can get if you go down this journey and come out on the other end. And if you think about adjusting your habits and your life beyond that, I also have a video about the system which helped me called Habit Symbiosis, But for now, I just wanted to thank you and wish you the best on your journey. And if you have any questions, just let me know and I will get back to you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.